Hi everyone, welcome to today's tutorial where we are going to discuss how you can do a partial search of any data. So for this example, we are going to use a partial number from our employee ID and we want to retrieve the data from our data range. So this is an awesome trick that you can use. We are going to use the XLOOKUP function together with a wildcard setting in order to get the data that we need. And this is quite simple. So let's jump right in and I'll explain everything as we go. So on our right hand side here, you can see we have our search bar. You can do this with an actual search bar that you can insert into from the developer tab, or you can simply use a cell like this. If you want to see a video where we're using a search bar for this, let me know down in the comment section and I'll create a video for that as well. It's quite easy. So here is our search parameter. In this section, we are simply going to type out some numbers from an employee ID and see what we can get back. And in this section, we want to use the XLOOKUP function to search for our data within our range. So it's quite simple. Let's show you exactly what you're going to type into your cell to get the data. So in this section, I'm simply going to type the equal sign and I'm going to type the XLOOKUP function. And from here, when you are in your function, you can see the first value that we need to add is our lookup value. So in this case, we are simply going to reference back to this cell where we are going to type in our search parameters. So this is our lookup value, and I'm going to insert a comma point to get to our lookup array. So our lookup array is quite simple. As I said, we are going to focus on the employee ID. So the lookup array will simply be our employee ID range on the left-hand side here. So you can see this references to table 1 and employee ID. And this is our lookup array where whatever we're typing into our search box there, it will look up from this section of our table. So as I said, you can implement this in the first name, last name, job titles, wherever you would like to look up anything that you would want. But for now, this is where we're going to focus. So we're focusing on the employee ID, and this is our lookup array. So the next option that we are going to use when we're typing in a comma point is the return array. And for this, I'm simply going to select from my employee ID across to my job titles and down to the section. I know why that did not work. Let's try this again. Everything seems to be a bit slow on my laptop this morning. So our return array is simply going to be our whole data set here. So you can include the salary if you would like. If you need all of your information, you can simply select what type of information you want to display. If you want the first name and last name only, you can select that as well. So but for this, we are simply going to use all of the data here and we are going to return everything that we want. So once we're done with our return array, you can simply enter a comma point, and the next option in our function is what if there is no data to be found. So this can be a display message that you type in. This can be anything from literally not found to no data, whatever you want to type. If you're typing out a message, just remember you need to put it in double quotes. So going to put a double quote there, and I'm going to just type not found and then end my double quotes there. So this is my return message if there is no data matching our search parameters. So that's quite simple. Remember, if you're putting in text, you need to put it in double quotes. So for our next section, moving on, we are looking at the match mode. And this is where we are going to insert our wildcard character match. So this is quite cool. If you want to do an exact match, you can use a 0 to do that. This simply is going to be an exact match of your data. So you need to have all of your data in order to get an exact match. And you can work through all of these as well, and you can see what each of these functions can do. So we are going to do the wildcard character match. So when you are using this, this is where we are going to get a partial match. So you can see from the description here, it searches for a wildcard match where all of these symbols have a special meaning. And of course, that is where we want to be. So I'm going to show you exactly how this works. So for this, you can simply select your second option here for a wildcard match and enter that as well. And once you're done here, we can then close our bracket and then simply press enter. So as you guys can see, our display message is nothing is found yet. So let's just type in any type of data. So once you're typing out your data in your search box, this is where it gets interesting. So if you want to type data, let's say for instance, we have the first three values from this employee ID. So then simply put, I'm going to type 990 and I'm going to include this star to indicate that we still have data running past this values. So we have the initial three values, and now we are indicating with this symbol that we still need the rest of the data. So we only have a partial match to this data. So once you enter this, you can see everything just pops up here and everything is displayed in line. So this is one of the methods that we're going to use. Just stay calm. I know this is not how you want to look, how you want your data represented. So we're going to head back into our XLOOKUP function, and simply we are going to, at the start of our function, we are going to use the transpose function to get this done. And you can type in the transpose function and then just close the bracket at the end. And once we press enter, you can see here is all of the data that we have for our partial match. So this is quite simple, it's easy, and here you can see we only indicated a partial match of our employee ID, and from here it went on and searched throughout the data to get everything that we need from this. So if you want, for example, to enter the middle values, I know this employee ID is broken up into sections of 3 and 3 values in each section, but this is not the only way that you can do this. You can, for instance, search multiple values. It really doesn't matter. You can play around with this and see exactly how this works for you. But let's just focus on entering the middle three numbers in some sort of ID. So I'm looking down here and I'm going to enter the 808 partial number to our employee ID. So to explain this simple, once again, because we have data in front of this partial match and we have data at the back of this match, I'm simply going to put in a star, an 808 and another star symbol. So once I type in enter here, you can see it looks up the exact employee ID and it gives you all of the information that we wanted. And this is quite simple. As I said, if you want some more data afterwards, you put in a star. If you have searching a partial number in between your data, we putting in 2 stars. And once you are looking at data from the back end of your employee ID, so let's say for instance we're going to type 026 star, oh sorry, we need to type in a star 026 in order to show this formula that we have data in front of this ID. So once I press enter, you can see this looks up all of our data, and this is exactly what we need. So now you can see exactly how this function works when entering data, and now you can use this XLOOKUP function together with the transpose function to get this done. But there is another method that you can use. So let's move on to our second method and show you how we can implement that to get separate information in our search range. So I'm just heading to our second spreadsheet. Looks exactly the same. All of the data is the same. It only has all of these blanks. So once again, once you are searching for data, let's type in *001. Just leave it there for now. And now we are going to type out our XLOOKUP function. So the first method that we're using is actually quite better in this instance, because you are transposing all of your data into this, but you can then just separate this and type in everything on its own as well. So once again, in your cell where you want your values, we're going to type out our XLOOKUP function, and once again run through all of these setups. So our lookup value, we're referencing back to this search cell that we're using, and then moving on to our lookup array, that will stay the same. It's going to be our employee ID section where we are looking up partial values. So then once again, our return array, for this instance, we are looking at the employee ID just on its own. So our return array is simply going to be our employee ID section. And now, as you can see, we're just moving on with we're separating this into different sections, and we're basically going to copy and paste this XLOOKUP function to get everything done. So in the next section of our formula, we're going to type not found, and then move on to the match mode. And once again, we are going to select the wildcard character match to get that section done from our XLOOKUP function. So once you're done with this, we can simply close the bracket and press enter, and you can see everything happening over here. So you can copy and paste this formula everywhere that you would like. Let's just copy this, and we are simply going to paste this formula everywhere. And then once you are we are now searching for our first name. So in our return array, I'm simply going to then select this, and I'm going to select my first name section. So as we move along, you can see it's quite easy, quite simple. We can simply just edit the data, and in this way you get all of your data that you want. So I know this seems, why are we doing this this way? The other method is actually quite quicker. I'll show you exactly if something like that bothers you. So here you can see, once again, we have all of our data. We just edited our function here to have our return array return the section that we would like. So this is quite easy, it's quite simple. And once I type in, let's do, I don't know what number won't match, let's do something like this, you can see every single cell displays not found. If we move back to our first method, we used the transpose function. Let's type in exactly the same function here. We can see only the employee ID calls a not found text here. So because we are using the transpose function, these cells down here won't display the same message. So it's quite stupid, but if something like this will bother you, you can actually just use our second method and see all of our data here displays a not found function. And both of them are really easy. So this is a great way that you can use this. And as I said before, if you have the first three values of an employee ID, let's enter that. We need to enter this symbol to indicate that we need the other data at the back of these numbers. If you have something in between, so let's say, for instance, like this, we can see that we need to enter a symbol at the start of these values and at the back end of these values in order for our XLOOKUP function to actually look up values this partial match. And once again, when you have the last set of data, you can simply type in your symbol and then type in data and see how that matches up. So it's quite easy. This is a great method that you can use in order to get your partial search done in Microsoft Excel. And it works brilliantly. And as I said, you can implement a search box into this using your search box to enter your data and then displaying all of your data. You can use conditional formatting to highlight the data that you have retrieved from your XLOOKUP function. All of this is possible, and this is the brilliance of this. So you can play around with this and see exactly how this function and how this method will work for you, and you can then just optimize this in your everyday life. So I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you enjoyed this long explanation of a partial lookup in Microsoft Excel. If you did, please remember to like the video down below, and please share this video far and wide with anyone that you think might find this helpful. And as always, please subscribe to our channel so that you do not miss any of our new content coming out soon. But thanks for watching, guys, and until next time, cheers.